Limerence is a captivating emotion, but it's not the same thing as love. Hello, and welcome to Somewhere on the Spectrum. It's about a year since I first heard the word limerence. It resonated right away, and I wonder if it might resonate with you too. Limerence is defined as being infatuated or in a state of love when there's not necessarily any reciprocation. So it's a one-way thing. For those of us on the spectrum, it might feel like our special interests, hyperfixation or obsession. It may be temporary or not. Certainly, it can feel all-consuming. The existence of limerence doesn't mean love doesn't exist or isn't there, but is particularly relating to the obsession or fixation on the person or thing. As neurodiverse people, we may already struggle with intense or unpredictable emotions. We may struggle to differentiate between different feelings. Understanding the nuance of the difference between love, like, and limerence may be pretty tough for us. For me, this feeling of love or limerence always felt out of control. My whole life revolved around the person, and they were constantly in my thoughts. As a young person, this was an intense experience and had lots of knock-on effects. I was developing my masks, and I wanted to be exactly who they were looking for. It never crossed my mind that someone would like me for me. So I listened carefully, identifying everything they said they wanted, and then becoming that. Of course, 4 months in, I'm a totally different person, and they have no idea who I am. So it never really ended well. In hindsight, it makes sense, but in the moment, it made sense too. Having the strength in vulnerability to just be yourself for someone you like when you know that most people don't actually like it every time you let them get a glimpse of your true self. That's not something I've achieved yet. Ultimately, the worst side of masking is losing yourself. And for me, that experience was most intense when I was in a romantic relationship. These days, my heavy masking is mostly just in company, but in a relationship, it was constant. And since it was very, very much pre-diagnosis, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know that I was building masks. I didn't know that it wasn't working. And I didn't know that, in fact, all of my friends weren't doing this too. It was only me. I was the only one that was doing this. Back to limerence. So limerence is very relevant when we have a crush, whether that's someone we know, a famous person, a character in a book or TV show. We might want to watch and rewatch the show. This can also be about trying to adopt that character as a mask, especially in our youth. So it can be a little bit difficult to kind of see where the limerence is turning into mask building and where it's turning into love and where it's turning into obsession. It can be very difficult to identify those kind of things. And I think certainly as a younger person, when we feel limerence over, for example, a character, it can feel like the way to solve my problems is to be that person. And so we do become very obsessed with that person. We love that person. We like everything that they do. We want to be them so hard. And then we start to build our mask to try and be that person, but we're not that person. It's not achievable. It's never going to be achievable. Even if we're lucky enough to find a way to look a little bit like them, A, that's going to freak out everybody else. But B, just because you look like somebody doesn't mean you are them. So there's no good way for this to go, basically. We might find ourselves putting together mixtapes or daydreaming all the time with them in mind. It's important not to try to do love right. That's a masking impulse again. But identify, do you want them to be happy with or without you? Is this about what you want or what they want? And if you're not sure, ask them what they want. Does it marry up with your expectations of what you think they would want? With limerence, we can tend towards feeling like they're not even doing themselves right, once we start to get to know someone, if we've really limerenced onto somebody and we start to feel like we know who they are, and then we start to get to know them a bit more, we can feel like, that's not who you are. It means that we have created a version of them in our heads and it's not matching up to the real thing. I think this can be particularly dangerous when we're talking about famous people, characters, and real people that we have not been in close contact with. This is a very real experience, and it is absolutely not limited to the neurodiverse community. Anyone who has ever had a crush and either kept their distance from that person or not really spent time listening or getting to know their crush can end up creating a version of that person in their head. And of course, when you're actually in a relationship with someone, you're faced with the reality of that person every day. But even then, some people struggle to actually see and hear that person. The most important thing is to listen, pay attention, and truly hear what people are saying about who they are. And learn to accept that truth, even if it doesn't align with who you think they are or who you want them to be or think they could be. The challenge with limerence is figuring out how not to let it dominate your life. And for this, I think we have to go back to rumination. I did do an episode on rumination a little while ago, so I'll drop that in the description for you. Rumination is the circling thoughts, reviewing the past again and again and again. It can also be going over future conversations that you want to have, scripting, things like that. But very often it's focused on the past, something that we can't fix, can't change, but our brain is trying to solve that problem. It's trying to make sense of that situation, and we get stuck in a cycle. Rumination is another form of obsession. And the first step is acknowledging that you've got a problem. If you find that you are ruminating all the time, or you're thinking about this person or thing all the time, the first step is like, maybe that's too much. Maybe that's not quite normal. And then we have to systematically work to overcome it, which means distracting yourself, starting to notice when you're thinking about them, and actively working to redirect, distract, do something else, change what you're thinking about, focus on something else. And you might have to do this again and again and again. And in the beginning, it will be really hard to notice that you're thinking about them. But as soon as you do distract, move on to something else, tell yourself, no, we're not thinking about that today, like out loud. And do that again and again and again. And the more you do it, the faster you'll get at noticing, and the easier it will become to distract yourself and move on to something else. But you got to be patient, because it really does take time, especially with the rumination. Deciding when enough is enough, or it's become unhealthy, and asking for help. There will come a point where you're descending into darkness, or this is totally taking over your life, and that's probably not good. You do need to eat and sleep and do other things. So if you reach that point, then it is time. You need to ask for help. You need to reach out, whether you do that online or you do it with a therapist or with a friend. It really doesn't matter. It's about getting another set of eyes on the situation, finding help, even if that's just help to distract yourself. It's important. Limerence is a captivating emotion, but it's not the same thing as love, and it can become harmful to us, and in terrible situations, others too. So you can enjoy it, absolutely enjoy it while it's good. Enjoy it while you can, but be aware. Be aware that it could go too far, or it could be too much, and be ready to dig yourself out. I hope that's useful. And remember, we have the Patreon. If you would like to join the Patreon, or you'd like to check out the gender and sexuality course that I did, or some of the free stuff that's available for you on there, feel free to head over. That is in the description. And feel free in the comments if you would like to share with us if you've ever experienced limerence. This is the first time you've heard of it. What did it feel like to you? If you've experienced limerence and you've experienced love, I would love it if you would drop in the comments, what is the difference between those two feelings or emotions? How would you be able to identify the nuance between them? I think that would be really helpful for a lot of us to kind of compare and contrast those two things. So feel free to drop that in the comments. I would love to have a discussion and find out more about our experiences of this. All right, I'll see you later. Have a great week. Bye.